this is Scott. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to another episode of Considering the Source. I've loved seeing how many of you have been downloading the very first interview with Justin, and so I'm excited to go ahead and present to you part 2 of this conversation. The same things go for this one as they did for the first one. That is, that Justin sometimes uses strong language. So just understand that this is exactly who Justin is. I love Justin, so there's no judgment on my end, and I would hope that you would extend him the same amount of grace. Again, even though he might say something that you personally might not agree with, try to get past that. Try to focus on listening to the story as a whole, trying to understand him as a person, and just try to see where he came from and to hear his story. Now, as you're listening to the episode, it might be that you have some questions or some comments that you want to make. Feel free. You have a number of ways in which you can do that. One, if you're listening from our website, consideringthesource.com, within each blog there is an area where you can leave a post. We're happy to hear back from you there. You can leave a comment or a question, and I can always touch base with Justin and get an answer to you. Another thing, if you want to send an email, maybe you don't want everybody to possibly see it, you can always send it to our email, and that's at consideringthesource@gmail.com. consideringthesource@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to us in that way if you'd like. Anyway, thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for your downloads. Please be sure and tell friends and family about it if it's something that you feel strongly about. If you're enjoying the episodes, please let me know. I really, really do appreciate it, and let your friends know. Now, where we left off with Justin last time was I had just asked him the question of whether or not he had regretted the decision to go into the Air Force instead of one of the other branches of the service. So that's where we'll pick up this time. So without any further ado, here's part 2 of my interview with Justin. At this point in time, do you regret that decision?
So in my current point in my life, I wish that I could have gained the knowledge and skill set that I would have gotten via being a sniper or a ranger. That's something that I'm truly passionate about right now in my life, are those types of things. And I wish I could have had the military exposure, not just like a civilian exposure. Oh, this is how we train people, but the actual military exposure. So I don't want to say that I regret going to the Air Force, but I just think it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to capitalize, if you will, on learning those skill sets from the military.
Okay. So you sign up, you have your delayed, what did you call it? Your
Delayed enlistment.
Okay. And so you know that basic training is coming up. And I presume you talked to your mom and dad about what basic training was like. I presume that over time, basic training looked differently from when your parents first did it to when you went in.
Yes.
Did you have anxiety about that? Or I don't know. Did you have anxiety?
So, no. And here's a big reason why. So my dad prepared me as much as he possibly could, but he's like, when my dad went to basic training, they did their PT and stuff like that, and their combat boots and all this kind of stuff like that you see on TV, where when I went through, we actually had PT uniforms and New Balance shoes as what we worked out in. Like, we didn't run around in our uniform all the time and stuff like that. But his preparation, the straight arrowness that I had growing up, from a respect standpoint, because military is all about respect. You disrespect someone in the wrong case, you're screwed, right? But the thing is when I played football, I'm taking it back for a moment here. When I played football, when I first started playing tackle football, I was for a team called Waipio Panthers. My first year I played, we went 5-5. Was a ho-hum year, whatever. I was, I think, maybe 12 years old or 11 years old when I first played tackle football. And for the next 3 years, going into my high school football career, if you will, we never lost a game for 3 years straight. And football teams have 11 players on the field.
Okay.
We had 13 players on our team.
Oh my.
And we played both ways, special teams, didn't matter what. So my football coach was prior military, and he trained us. Like, when we were practicing, he trained us with like a military mentality.
Yeah.
And so 2 things that I learned from him. One was discipline. Like being able to control yourself and stuff like that, and not let emotions run and stuff like that. and on the suit of the discipline piece, that mind over matter was a real thing. So I want you to imagine this, that I'm 12 years old, and you have this like hill that's probably about 30 feet up on maybe like a 40 degree incline.
Yeah.
I'm 12 years old, and I'm carrying another 120-pound kid on my back in his full pads while I run up and down these hills for conditioning. Because I'll tell you, I was in the best shape my entire life, because when you have 13 players, you don't ever stop.
Right.
And it's like that. Like, how many 12-year-olds could you say have had an experience where their conditioning was beyond anything that anyone even does right now?
Sure.
And the fact that I'm carrying another kid on my back while I run up and down these things. So
was that just because he was lazy, or?
Who, the kid?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm tired. Let's carry me. But I mean, it was a pure discipline and pure mental strength. With great mental strength came physical strength and endurance after the fact, but the fact that we were never broken mentally from all that conditioning and stuff like that, that experience with my football coach. And the funny thing is, he actually, when I went up to high school, he came up to high school to coach our JV team. And my sophomore year, when he actually got called to go up to varsity, and then he pulled me and a couple of my friends that played with him as we were little kids. So I only played for a single football coach in my entire Pee-wee to high school career. Was under one coach my entire life.
Wow.
And it was him and the mindset and the practice that he had in football, that when I went to basic training, that nothing was going to be new to me, because I knew that I was already mentally tough to take all the harassment that you get in the military. So the only thing I was worried about was I don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single morning. That was the only thing that stressed me. I was like, oh my God, I wake up so early. Other than that, I mean, I knew I was smart enough, and I knew I had the mental strength and the will to get through it. It was just to do it now.
Are you still in touch with that coach?
No. I haven't been back to Hawaii, first off, in 10 years. And I didn't see him at that time. It would have been when I graduated high school was the last time I saw him.
Do you have any desire to reach out? Yeah. Okay.
I looked him up on Facebook, and he didn't exist. But I reached out to one of my other friends who I think does know him, because I think my friend helped coach later on back with him. But I never did anything beyond that.
So you then finally do actually go into basic training. Mm-hmm. And was it what you expected, or harder, easier?
It was what I expected. It wasn't easier than I thought it would be. It wasn't harder than I thought it'd be.
What was the most difficult part?
Waking up early.
That really was the most difficult part.
Early on.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it's everything that you guys see in the movies. You get inside there, you go to sleep, and you have someone screaming at your face at 4 o'clock in the morning to get up and get in formations like that. And that's very real for the first week or 2 weeks in basic. That's very real.
Okay.
Then you're already what I'll quote unquote say you're already broken, and they're starting to mold you now to what they want. So after that, all the yelling and stuff, you become numb to it, and you just listen to what happens and you go. But after getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to sleep at 8 o'clock at night, the probably the biggest struggle was, for me, it was PT. I mean, I was in shape from football, but I wasn't in military shape.
Okay.
So when I think about in shape in football, I mean, I can bench press, 305. I can do curls with 60-pound dumbbells. I can bench with 100-pound weights. That's what I thought was in shape. When I got into the military, we do what they call a red line, which is a base of what your physical fitness is. Mm-hmm. So at the time, the base was you do 2-minute push-ups, you do 2-minute sit-ups, and you do 2 miles. You run 2 miles, and then they take what you do there, and then that's like your baseline, and then they see what you progress throughout the entire basic training. So I thought I was in shape, man. I did. And I got to basic training, and I ran my 2 mile in 18 minutes, which is not good. First, I'll throw it.
Okay.
It's not good.
All right.
I did 27 push-ups, 25 sit-ups maybe. First off here, Air Force basic training, shortest basic training out of all the militaries.
Nice.
6 weeks.
Holy cow.
6 weeks. It's now, as of probably about 5-6 years ago, it's expanded now to 8 weeks. But when I went through, 6 weeks long.
Okay.
6 weeks of basic training. I went from 18 minutes, 18-minute run to a 14-minute run.
Okay.
I went from 25 push-ups to 85 push-ups.
What?
I went from 24 sit-ups to 100 sit-ups in 2 minutes.
Wow.
So I said when I thought I was in shape, I was not in military shape.
Okay.
I was in power shape, explosion shape. Military shape is endurance.
Yeah.
So we did push-ups and sit-ups every single day that I was in basic training. We ran every single day I was in basic training.
Was 14 the fastest then that you could do the 2 miles?
I think under 14 you got max points because it was on a point scale. You got so many points for something like that. So under 14 or under 15 was max points. I think the minimum cutoff was 16 minutes because you went over 16, you technically failed. And if you fail PT, you get washed back into a previous week, which means you actually leave the flight or the squadron that you're with to go live with another stuff, and you go back 2 weeks at a time, and you don't want to have to repeat this thing that you did. So it's a very big motivator. It's like, I don't want to get washed back and have to do it over again. So yeah.
Did you see guys fail? Did you see guys who just couldn't make it?
My TI, I was an element leader in their meeting.
Which means what?
I was like, so we had a dorm chief, the person who was like, quote unquote, in charge of our entire dorm of people, with element leaders, 4 of them, because when you march in 4 elements, and the 4 people in front were like team leaders, if you will, of my element. I was the tallest of the element leaders, so I had the tallest people in our entire squadron. But my drill instructor had me and 2 other dudes stay up probably for a week. We stayed up every night to try to help train this one kid on how to do push-ups, man. Like, we'd sit in the bathroom inside of our dorm with the flashlights, and we'd sit there, and his name was Oates, was his name. Trainee Oates. Big, kind of sloppy-looking dude. Couldn't do push-ups, man. I mean, I think all said and done, he probably couldn't do 15 on at one time.
And is this a person that didn't make it?
Didn't. I don't know if he got washed back or if he got kicked out because he couldn't make it. But we did for about a week. We sat there and tried to train him on how to do push-ups, how to make them easier, how to, I don't know what the heck we were trying to do, actually, to be real. We just sat in the showers in the middle of the night trying to teach him or trying to make him do push-ups.
So you may feel free to take some time to think about this, but like, what memories, when you think about basic training, that's 6 weeks, like what are some images that you see in your mind about that?
First thing that comes to mind is people that couldn't handle it. There was too much for them. The stress of it all.
Okay.
Which made me laugh because I talk about that mental strength, and you show signs of this mental weakness, I just laugh at you anyway. But people that were trying, that couldn't handle it, and the only way you could get out would be like doing stupid stuff, like trying to commit suicide. People try to commit suicide with freaking shaving razors. We had people try to leave base. Like, tried to escape basic training, like jump fences of the military bases and stuff like that. And you're like a deserter, you're AWOL, absent without leave. So that's the first thing that does come to mind. If I were to, so I can think of 1, 2, and 4 other real big memories. Okay. 1, polishing my boots. I can make a boot look like a mirror if I wanted to. The black leather boots. Yeah. I mean, they don't wear black leather anymore. They all wear the cowhide type boots on.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Like Timberlands.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember we had this silver strip that was like in between the hallway and our dormitory. And it was just a silver strip on the ground, and it was chrome. And we had details throughout basic training where each person or group of people had a very specific, like you were in charge of the latrine, or you had to clean the toilets, you were in charge of the bathrooms, you were in charge of making sure all of our bunks are in perfect line, you're in charge to make sure all of our sheets and our blankets are perfectly tight, all of our boots are lined up. Well, one person had, their only job was to sit there and polish this chrome strip. And for the first 3 weeks in basic training, anytime you walked over it, you had to yell chrome, and you couldn't step on it, because you stepped on it, TI was making you hit your face and you were doing push-ups. So that was another vivid memory. It was chrome. Every time you walked over, chrome, like that, and you made sure you walked over it, you didn't step on it.
And what's the purpose of saying the word chrome?
Just to acknowledge that you're stepping over the chrome.
Okay.
The second one is I never peed standing up when I was in basic.
Because
our TI said our urinals were off limits, and we can only pee in the toilets. And if you stand up and pee and make a mess, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah.
So we sat down so we didn't have splash damage. So all of basic training, I never
6 weeks
standing up. Yep.
Okay.
Always peed sitting down.
Okay.
When I was getting ready to graduate basic training, I took a flight of a group of my people, and I marched them down to the shop at a little store on base, and we were kind of free to kind of do what we wanted to do, but not really, because we're still in basic training. So we bought some candy and stuff like that, and I remember I got a Kit Kat, and I ate that, and later on that day I just shit so much, super diarrhea, and I realized it because I was eating so clean. I had drank nothing but water for weeks. I had nothing but eaten this very food that they give me out of the chow hall and stuff like that. When I introduce something that is not that clean like that, my body just rejected everything. So I had the runs because of the Kit Kat bar. That was one other thing that I remembered about that. And the last thing I remember was when I was graduating. We had you go on this giant field where all of the flights of all of the kids who were graduating basic at that time. It's one giant parade, and all the parents and stuff are sitting in the stands, and you do this legitimate military marching and stuff like that, and the general's out there, and you're marching through, saluting, all this kind of stuff like that. And I remember one kid that was in my squadron or my flight was requesting to use the latrine because he had to pee, and my TI was like, no. And dude ended up pissing himself in the middle of the ceremony because he wasn't about to break rank and go run to a tree and piss, so he just sat in formation and just peed himself for our graduation. So I felt super bad because when he goes to see his parents, so after that he's covered in piss.
Oh my.
So yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy mentality.
Yeah.
That this is the better option.
Than school?
No. To stand and urinate on myself.
Oh, okay.
This is better than me going and maybe what would have been the consequence had he broken rank and went and peed somewhere?
I couldn't tell you what the actual consequence would have been, but I can tell you based off of our training, we didn't want to find out what the consequence was.
Right, but you understand that when he's weighing it out, he's like, I think this is the better choice.
And see, that's a thing that people who aren't in the military can't understand it sometimes about military people. Okay. It's that in our mind there is this very clear picture of what we have, and people maybe don't agree with our logic behind it. But as much as anyone doesn't want to say it or whatnot, but when you go to basic training, you are totally brainwashed. It is. Now it's not like a brainwash, we're going to make you into a born identity type thing, but you're trained, and you're basically broken down to nothing, and they remold you up to what they want you to be, and that is what they want you to be right there, where you're going to listen to commands. No ifs, ands, or buts. In this case, he had to pee. You're going to listen to your TI. If he tells you better not move, you're not going to move, and you're just going to piss yourself.
You will follow orders no matter what.
I don't want to go that far aside that, because that opens it up for other crazy discussions about your guy tells you to go shoot and kill this person, and you're going to do it. Because that's a whole other story right there. But it is, at least very early on in your career, you have someone as a superior tell you what to do, you do it.
Did anyone ever order a code red? I'm just kidding.
At least on the Air Force, they didn't exist. So I don't know.
Did you ever beat anybody with a pillowcase full of soap?
Yeah, no.
No. No. Did you ever play volleyball without your shirt on? Because I saw that in Top Gun, and I presume that's real.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah. Did you ever sing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling"?
No, that was before my time.
Okay, so Top Gun didn't play anything at all into you deciding to go?
No.
All right. So you made it through your basic training in 6 weeks or whatever it was. And did you do your basic training there in Hawaii?
No. All Air Force basic training is done in Houston? Shit, I don't remember. It's in Texas.
Okay. And so what time of the year you went to basic training?
I enlisted October 15th, 2002.
All right. So it's always hot in Texas, but...
It snowed when I was in basic.
In Houston?
It might not have been Houston, I don't know. In Texas.
And what year was this?
2002.
2002. All right, so the heat wasn't because I lived in Texas for a little bit, and I remember during the summer, literally...
San Antonio, okay.
I remember getting out of my truck in Texarkana and literally thinking, hell has to be cooler. It was so horribly hot.
Even in the fall, though?
No, that was much better. But in the summertime in Texas, it's unbearable.
I was there from October to, February?
Okay.
March.
All right. So you finished that up, and you had where?
Wichita Falls, Texas.
Okay.
The asshole of the United States of America.
Is that bad?
There were two things in that town. A Circle K and Maximus, which was a strip club.
Oh, very, very good.
Very ghetto.
A Circle K and a strip club.
Yeah, and they're right next to each other.
Well, of course.
Obviously.
You need those right there. Because strippers need their coffee and gas. So you, how long were you there? Why were you there?
There for 6 months.
Okay.
For tech school or technical training. So I went into the Air Force as a 2A3X3 B, 2A3X3. You get assigned to B later on, which was a tactical aircraft maintenance apprentice. So I was there to learn to be a jet mechanic.
Okay. Any jet, or were you there?
At that point, the Wichita Falls, Texas Tech School is what they call... So the first month that you're there is called fundies, or fundamentals, and that's where they teach you, this is an Allen wrench, this is a Phillips head, this is a monkey wrench. They teach you about all the different types of tools. This is safety wires. This is dikes. What are they called? Dikes. What are they called? Diagonal cutters. They call them dikes.
Okay.
And they teach real basic mechanical skills. One of the big things for us as a aircraft maintenance was safety wire. I don't know if you're familiar with safety wire is. It's just you have a wire and you tie it and twist it like that so that bolts and nuts don't loosen themselves up. It keeps it tight and unless you break the safety wire. So we had to do a lot of safety wire on aircraft. So we learned a lot of how to safety wire screws, bolts, and nuts and stuff like that. And that was a big part of fundamentals of the fundies thing. And they also taught you how to inspect a jet. So we have these things called TOs, or technical orders, and there's a step-by-step guide with pictures as to what you're supposed to look at, what component inside of this aircraft you're supposed to look at, and what you're looking for. And they teach you that as a part of that as well, the second half of that.
And you were there 6 months, you said?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just to train you to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you finished that up, and you had where?
Luke Air Force Base, Arizona.
And you're going to be there for how long?
You're supposed to be there for a month, but they were backed up because they had so many people that were going through my tech school. So I was there for 2 months, but you have 1 month of what they call hot training, hands-on training, and all we did for the month of our training there was launch and recover jets. So live F-16s, because that's what I actually worked on, live F-16s. We taxied them out, the whole marshaling them in, turning them, saluting to our pilot, doing all of our safety checks as a jet's running, as you have a operating jet in front of you as opposed to a static jet inside of a hangar where we're just inspecting and playing with.
Yeah.
You have a legitimate running aircraft, and you have the whole month that they teach you all the ins and outs of basically launch and recover. So I can launch my jet out, you do all your checks prior to the plane taking off, and you do all your checks when the plane comes back.
Okay. You did that for about a month?
For 1 month as a training, then you graduate and you're done.
Okay, and then you went where?
Mountain Home, Idaho.
How long were you there?
1 year.
Okay. And is it now that you're doing your job?
I'm doing my job.
All right, you spent basically, I don't know.
It's now, now a year and almost 2 years at that point by the time I was getting ready to get out of there. But at that point, I've been in the military now at that point for just under 1 year.
Under 1 year. Okay. So you're there in Idaho,
Yep.
and this is where you're doing your job day in and day out.
Yep.
Okay. And you've mentioned earlier at one point in time actually going into war.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does that occur during your time in Idaho?
Mm-hmm.
When does that occur?
Probably 3 years later, actually.
So you were there in Idaho for a year.
Yep.
And then you go where?
Korea.
How did that occur?
So it's a known thing for our career field that when you go to a base, if you want to go somewhere else, mm-hmm. You have to pay your dues.
Okay.
And in order for us to pay our dues in my career field, you have to do a tour in Korea.
Is Korea that bad?
It's bad because it's remote. And a remote tour, you cannot bring dependents with you. You have to go by yourself. So I was married at that point now. I was already married now to my first wife.
Okay.
And she lived with me in Idaho. And then I got orders to Korea and then I went up there.
Okay.
From Idaho.
So, how long were you in Korea then?
A little over a year.
And then moved again?
Yeah. Got divorced in Korea because my ex-wife was a needy, conniving bitch. Basically, so she turned 20, we got married young, right? So she turned 21 when I was in Korea, and I to this day, I think that she wanted that whole party thing over being the married thing.
You met her where?
In high school. That was a high school girl.
This is the same girl?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yeah,
my gosh.
We were together that whole time all the way through. And then when I went to Korea, she turned 21. She had a bunch of dumb slut girlfriends who I knew were sluts because my friends fucked them. And they, I thought they were extremely bad influences on her. Uh-huh. And, it just came to, I remember I had a cell phone. I was paying for this, we call them Haji, like these weird cell phones that they had worked off of like phone cards and all that. I remember calling her, when I was at work one day in my Has while I was waiting to get my jet ready, and right out of her mouth she's like, "I don't want to do this anymore." I'm sorry, what'd you say? I don't want to do this anymore. What is it? What is it that you don't want to do? I don't want to be married anymore. And I remember.
Did you see it coming?
There was a struggle. I mean, we had a hard time because, remote tour, statistically, Korea, more than half people that go there that are married, get divorced when they're there.
So while you're in Korea, she's still back in Idaho?
She's in Hawaii. I sent her back home to live with her parents while I was over there. And, here's the thing about that. When I got my orders to Korea, you also get your follow-on assignment, so where you're going after that. Mm-hmm. And I got Germany. So, it was supposed to be an exciting time. We knock out this 1 year here, and then we're off to Europe.
Yeah, we will be there. Right.
So, before that had happened, I went back to Hawaii on leave for vacation, and things were good. When we got back there, obviously they were good and worked together and whatnot. And I bought her a brand new car while I was down there. 2005 Mini Cooper S. Fully loaded, supercharged, the whole 9 yards. Thinking in my mind that this is going to buy my way to her staying and not leaving. And 4 weeks after I left to go back to Korea, that's when she told me she wanted the divorce.
Did you get the car back?
I dumped it on her. And she ended up having to trade that car in because she couldn't afford the payments. The payments on the car were like $450, and she couldn't support that. Working at Costco because she had no skills. She's stupid.
Okay, I'm just thrilled that the years have eased the pain. That's So you're in Korea then? Is that correct? When the war?
No. Which war are we talking about?
Any war. When did you?
So when Bush invaded Iraq, I was in tech school. That's when I was in tech.
So the second Bush.
When W went in. To go find the WMDs. I was in tech school. So that operation went on for years.
Yes.
Korea, we're still over there doing our thing, but Korea is a whole different ballgame because you're not fighting with the Middle East, you're fighting with North Korea and China and stuff like that. So none of that stuff really had a big giant effect on us while I was over there. I didn't get any of that stuff till I went to Germany.
Okay. So tell me about what it's like when we are actually at war. What's it like in the Air Force when we're actually at war?
Well, do you mean from like an organizational standpoint, like back for like home bases, or like when you're actually out in that environment?
What was your experience like?
When I was there,
yeah,
or when I was at a home base?
When you were there.
Actually, in Iraq.
Yep.
So I remember everything about when I was over there, but I have like real big highlight memories of it. So one, I deployed from Germany, and from Germany we went to Qatar, or Qatar, whatever you want to call it, one of the Middle Eastern countries over there. You kind of sit there in like a staging base for maybe a few days before you actually go into Iraq. And I remember we flew on a C-5, the big, huge planes, over to Qatar. And then we went to Qatar to, it was called Balad Air Base, which is the largest Air Force base inside of Iraq. That's where I was getting stationed at. We flew a C-130. So C-130 is a propeller, the kind of big, beefy propeller airplanes. And I remember, so inside there they actually install they look like airline seats in the middle bay area, and they have all the seating along the side as well. So you're like sitting parallel, like you're facing the middle of the airplane. And I got lucky enough to sit on the side. You want to sit on the side so you can stretch your legs out.
Okay.
Right? And you got all of your gear, your flak vest, your M16, and all this kind of stuff like that. And when we were flying into Iraq, I remember I was sitting on the side. I didn't have my seatbelt on because we were just kind of just hanging out, and we knew we were still flying until we heard what was going to be going on. Mm-hmm. And then the captain comes over mic, and he basically says, all right, prepare for combat landing.
All right, I hate to do it to you because we're getting to a really cool part in Justin's story, but we're going to go ahead and close right there for this time. So again, be sure to let your friends and family know about Considering the Source. Feel free to comment or send us an email if you'd like. We hope again that you're learning to remember that everybody has a story. Everybody. So until next time.